Hey guys, so I am currently driving to work, and I started doing that thing where I talk to myself as if I'm doing a YouTube video essay thing, and as I was refilling the car with gas, I kind of realized if I actually, recorded the things that I just said to myself as I was driving, I'd, have a proper YouTube channel. So I'm gonna do that. And see how this goes. So I won't be looking at the camera because I'm in the fucking car. And that's assuming that I don't put some snazzy visuals over this anyhow, which I probably won't because I'm lazy. But anyway, so just the thing that I was thinking about today, as I drove from my house to Sheetz, where I refilled my car's gas tank, is the cosmology of the Transformers universe. For those of you that don't know, I am a huge Transformers fan, and I typically don't feel like I'd have to say that, except the fact that my channel has been mostly Thomas-oriented. I feel like it kind of gets lost in the mix, that, sometimes I am more a Transformers fan than I am a Thomas the Tank Engine fan. Because I get more enjoyment out of Transformers media than I get out of Thomas media. Thomas I'm more in for the ideas, and then I kind of come up with my own on top of that. So it's kind of a different version of enjoyment. But anyway, so I was thinking about the current cosmology of the Transformers multiverse. And the reason this popped into my mind is because so I was emptying my book bag because I just got back from my parents' place. I say that as if it was a long ways away. It's 15 minutes from my apartment. But I spent Christmas Eve and Christmas Day there. So I had to empty all of my Christmas stuff out of my backpack and put, all the work stuff in my backpack. Well, in my backpack was a couple accessories from a knockoff Studio Series Optimus Prime that my younger brother had, which broke. So now he's like, look, I don't have any purpose for the accessories. Do you want any of them? And I really like the arm swords on movie Optimus Prime. So I was like, yeah, give them to me. I'm going to paint them up and give them to Earthrise Prime. Because And that kind of got me on the thought process of compositing a character. And the reason it really got me into thinking about the cosmology of the universe is because I do to G1 Optimus Prime what Marvel, or not Marvel, what DC, because I can't think of a good example with Marvel, but what DC does with Superman. There is one core version, then there are cartoon adaptions of that version, which are basically that version, but slightly different. We'd say, the DCAU version of Superman is basically, a cartoon version of comic book Superman. We'd feel confident saying that. Maybe not as all-powerful, but that's because comic book superheroes are more modern mythology. They're more myth than they are character. So, DC Animated Universe Superman kind of has a set limit, where DC Comics Universe Superman has none. He is as powerful as he needs to be. Because he's more an idea than a character, which is what I fucking love about comics. Don't take that as a slight. But anyway, point being is that I kind of take a lot of elements from different Optimus Primes and kind of funnel them into G1 Optimus Prime. My kind of ideal Optimus Prime is a lot more violent than typical Optimus Primes, because I grew up with the Michael Bay Transformers movies. I remember Dark of the Moon coming out, But for the longest time, I have like lived with 2007 and Revenge of the Fallens. Like those were the movies that like just kind of popped up in my existence. Like I don't remember when they came out. I just know that they did, and I watched them a lot. Because, you know, as a kid, like the movies were the main thing, you know, not the cartoons. The cartoons were the fun spin-off bits. But you know, then I, you know, grew up, learned media literacy, and was like, okay, the Bay movies are bad. And then I matured a bit more and was like, you know what, the Bay movies are good popcorn action flicks. But they don't do Optimus Prime justice. But the thing that I do have always kind of liked about the idea of the Bay movies is the idea of Optimus Prime in those movies as basically to G1 Optimus Prime what Injustice Superman is to main Superman. And that's always kind of been my biggest critique of those movies. Not that Optimus Prime is violent, but that G1 Optimus Prime doesn't show up and kick Bayverse Optimus Prime's ass. That would just repair those movies' reputations in my mind. Is then it's not, you know, it's not a story where they've just gotten Optimus Prime wrong. It's a different Optimus Prime. It's an Elseworld story. It's a what if. You know, what if Optimus wasn't this perfect guy? But anyway, that kind of just builds off of the fact that, like, I see variants of Optimus Prime as variants of Optimus Prime, not as just other iterations of Optimus Prime, which might sound like the same thing, but it's kind of different. I think while we do hold G1 Optimus Prime up above every other Optimus Prime, it's because he's the original, not because he is some cosmic linchpin within the canon of the Transformers multiverse. And that's because the Transformers multiverse doesn't exist anymore. It does in the sense that there's no like cosmic like multiverse ending event. Like they didn't Crisis on Infinite Earths the Transformers multiverse. But it is dead in the fact that the Shroud in 2015 kind of closed off any chance for multiversal stories, and Hasbro has been largely uninterested in telling them. Or I shouldn't say Hasbro has been uninterested in telling them. I don't know. I'm not sure where, at what point the like concept is developed. Like, this is the story we want to do, and you know, it kind of depends. It's multiple things kind of going together. Like, we almost got a multiverse story with the War for Cybertron trilogy and Legacy, but the War for Cybertron trilogy flopped, and they never got to make a show for Legacy, if they were going to. So, because it kind of was teased, the idea of like, oh, Unicron's gonna go, and then, but even that wouldn't have been, hey, the universes that you have been following since 1984 are all clashing together. It would be universes that resemble the universes that you have been following since 1984, except they're all kind of shittier versions where the voice acting is bad. They all clash together. So that, you know, that was already like, whenever they do a story that involves the multiverse, like, they put the universe they're in as Earth 1, for lack of a better term. Actually, there are better terms. You know, Transformers has a very different universal cataloging system than most other comic-oriented universes. I say comic-oriented universes. I know Transformers isn't a comic book universe. However, it feels like a comic book universe. It feels more like a comic book universe than anything else. What it really is, it's a toy line universe. It and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and maybe Power Rangers. I'm not sure where, like, if Power Rangers, well, actually Super Sentai was like toys first, fiction later, or fiction with toys. And like, I'm not sure where the development history with that is, but like, it's one of those universes where, you know, He-Man, G.I. Joe, there are other ones that are like, I'm stretching for names, but I can't think of them. But anyway, it's one of those universes. It's one of those universes that's adapted from a toy line. That's the original. Not this long history of comic books, not these cinema-defining movies. It's some plastic and die-cast. That's where Transformers gets its core from. So I call it a comic book universe because it feels like I associate it with comic book universes because of all of the sort of things that it could be. It feels most similar to that, even though they are more popular as cartoons. Where was I going with this? See, that's what's going to happen with most of these car videos, if this becomes a thing, is that I'm just going to lose my, like, where I am, and then the video is just going to just trail off. But anyway, let's see, let me backtrack here. This is what editing is for. I was talking about, Optimus Prime. He's actually, okay, well, I'm not sure if this is what I was talking about, but a good jumping back on point is, so we view G1 Optimus Prime as kind of the best of the Optimus Primes, and we hold him above all others. But the universe doesn't hold G1 Prime that way. There's never been a story where, you know, you had multiple Optimus Primes in a room, and G1 fucking either Marvel Comics or Sunbow Optimus Prime was, like, stood up in the, like, above them all and was paraded as the best of the best. DC Comics does that. DC Comics, maybe not explicitly, maybe not that exact sort of scene that I kind of pitched, but they will basically do the equivalent of that. They will have sort of kind of a sort of idea of like core Earth Superman is the Superman. And I say core Earth because, you know, it's Earth 1, New Earth, Earth Prime. It's changed its names throughout the years, but the point being is that that Superman that was at the center of the main comic book universe at the time, that is the main Superman, and he is more super than every other Superman. You know, Injustice Superman, even without the Injustice stuff happening, is like still not on core Superman's level. So that is kind of where I kind of do that with Optimus. The way I structure my headcanons is, you know, Optimus Prime is at the kind of absolute center of all Optimus Primes. He's the original Transformer, even though cosmologically he's not the original Transformer. He is the linchpin of Transformers. In the same way that Superman is in DC. And so now we're at a point where the multiverse kind of doesn't exist anymore, because the Shroud killed it off in every way that matters. The multiverses the universes don't interact the way they used to, which I think is a shame. That's where I was, is the Netflix show and all that. It's it wasn't actually going to capture the same kind of hype that I got from the con-exclusive multiverse stories. And that's the other thing, is the only reason we ever got any multiverse stories is because of 3H and FunPub. And honestly, I think it was just FunPub, because I think when 3H had the convention license, like, it was a lot of Beast Wars stories, and there was a lot of cosmological stuff, but it was on an individual universe scale. It was, you know, we're bringing the timeline to a close sort of stuff. Not even bringing the timeline to a close. It was just, you know, there's big stuff happening within the main Transformers timeline, because then there was a main Transformers timeline. It's like the cartoon and Beast Wars was the main Transformers timeline, and then the comics were like the offshoots. You know, like the comics was to those what the animated series is to DC Comics. What the DC animated universe is to the main comic timeline. I had to wet my whistle there. So, but yeah, the Shroud happened, and now currently, every new Transformers show since has stayed close to G1 as its basis, because the new shows are structured like Marvel and DC cartoons, and the fact that it is largely based off of the core timeline. It's not pitched as a spin-off of the comic book timeline. It is pitched as an abridged version in those. Or, now, that was definitely what Cyberverse was. Earthspark is a bit different. It's kind of pitched as a possible future of the core timeline, but still, it's kind of built around you kind of understanding how core Transformer works, and it not kind of spreading far from that that kind of general idea. As you have the general idea of these are what the characters look like, and they're fighting a war. Which, the second part has always been true. They've always stuck to that part. Autobots, Decepticons fighting a war. There was a bit of Beast Wars happened, but again, that was a sequel. So, the Autobot and Decepticon war still happened, it's just now there's also Maximals and Predacons. So, but ever since Robots in Disguise, which was also a bit funky because Autobots versus Predacons, but okay, so ever since Armada, it's always been Autobots fight Decepticons, Autobots good, Decepticons evil, like, and that's it. And kind of every time they would start again, we can't even call it rebooting, because rebooting would imply that, like, we kind of... Rebooting has a weird implication there, because, like, I would not call Transformers Animated a reboot of Transformers, the Unicron trilogy. Like, it's not a reboot of the Unicron trilogy, it's just the new Transformers cartoon that does not exist in any previously established toy line. Because it's normal for the new Transformers cartoon to not be a part of any previously established toy line. And that same way, I wouldn't call Armada or Robots in Disguise reboots either. Even though at the time, they were. Robots in Disguise is a bit weird because it's a reboot that's adapted from a sequel, which is weird. It's not even a sequel. It's like a sequel, prequel, a spin-off. Go with spin-off. Because Car Robots is a spin-off of G1 and Beast Wars. It's Autobots versus, like, and in that sense, Autobots versus Predacons actually makes sense. Like, that's kind of what I think is cool about the idea of Car Robots, is the Autobots and the villains from that timeline kind of exist within the transition era of G1 to Beast Wars, and they it's, we get to see the Autobots interact with the Predacons, basically. But because, we don't really know any of these characters, it's kind of mute. It's not like, what if Optimus Prime from Generation 1 fought Megatron and his Predacons from Beast Wars. It's Fire Convoy and his Dimensional Patrol going up against Gigatron and the Death Strongers, because they're Deathstrons but stronger. At least the Commandos have a cool name in Japan. Yeah, for me, it's Autobots and Predacons. Look, I like the idea of the Maximals being smaller, and I want to work that into my headcanon in some way, but it's just simpler with the Maximals and Predacons being the same size as the Autobots and Decepticons, and the advancement is that now they can mimic organic alternate modes without getting pretender shells into the mix. Like, they don't need an external shell that they step into and then size mass shrink down to whatever size they need be. It's, yeah, I can just transform into a human now. Like, I genuinely believe that Maximals and Predacons could just transform into humans if they wanted to. Anyway, we're getting a bit sidetracked. Cosmology of the Transformers multiverse is at an interesting point where I understand why they're doing what they're doing. They're trying to make a kind of... They're honestly trying to make the characters more consistent. Make it that they're not just name-dumping characters just to name dump. Just to keep the trademarks. Which is good branding-wise, and I thought I really wanted that. But what I have discovered is that I didn't want that. I wanted one universe to kind of be treated as a core universe, and I wanted the rest of the universes to spin off of that in interesting ways. Like, I want to see Shattered Glass be more popular. The fact that we got a second run that we got the IDW Shattered Glass universe is amazing to me, and I am disappointed in, that no one is different. I do kind of find the, what if, it's the same origin, but they went the opposite direction kind of approach that IDW's Shattered Glass went. It's an interesting take, but that's not what makes Shattered Glass fascinating. What makes Shattered Glass fascinating is seeing these characters as being the absolute opposite of who they typically are. It's almost a comedy reading Shattered Glass prose stories, because you know who Starscream is. And then you read Shattered Glass prose stories, and you're just... The dramatic irony in those stories is peak. And I didn't get that sense from the new IDW Shattered Glass. I got kind of a actual serious story that was meant to be taken seriously, where the Decepticons are good and the Autobots are evil. The dramatic irony was kind of lost, and I think that story has a place, but I always kind of will be disappointed in the loss of that dramatic irony of, yeah, you know how Optimus and Megatron and Starscream and Bumblebee are normally, but now they aren't. It just... it did feel like an Earth 3 comic book. You know, it's like, yeah, these are just the characters in this universe played straight. This guy is Superman but evil. This guy is Batman but evil. This guy is Lex Luthor but good. But yeah. So, but yeah, with the current cosmology of the Transformers multiverse, we don't really get that anymore. I also find myself kind of really missing, like, the toy original characters that they would put into Transformer toy lines. Like, Hasbro doesn't do that anymore. Like, the movies had so many toys that weren't in the movie. And, you know, and then the Universe toy lines and the Unicron trilogy toy lines had all these interesting repaints and all that. And we just don't get that anymore. You know, we're kind of... I'm really feeling that, like, be careful what you wish for moment. Not even that. Not even, like, the be careful what you wish for sort of bit. It's the... I don't remember the quote word for word, but it's a Jim Carrey quote that basically goes along the lines of, you know, I wish everyone got everything they ever wanted so they could realize that it's not. You know, I feel like I'm getting exactly what I wanted, and I'm sort of realizing that it might not totally have been what I wanted. Not in the ways I described it. So yeah, those are kind of just my random Transformers thoughts for the day. I don't have some big ultimate, like, kind of thesis for all this. This was just my current ramblings that I thought, hey, if I recorded this, and if I did this every time that I did this, because I would have still had this conversation. It would have just been to myself, pretending I was doing a YouTube video, instead of actually doing a YouTube video. So I thought, you know, if I just put the camera on, I might not, like, I might, like, actually have something to release to the public. Maybe people would actually be interested in hearing my random thoughts about Transformers or Thomas, somewhat Marvel, DC, and Star Wars. I'm more of a casual in those regards. So yeah, we'll go ahead and see how that all goes out. So, until next time, bye.